Here we are. Another one. This is going to be sort of a left field thing. We talk about it. We've never talked about this topic specifically, but it's about pop culture, but not even so much about pop culture, but why you're into pop culture. And the reason why I say this is because you have a rocker background, and probably would be good to talk about some of that if you want to. But rockers historically are anti-pop culture. They really don't care what's going on. They live the life they want to live. Life like a rock star, throwing TVs out the hotels, who can thrash in the place, because we don't care, we're rockers. But you have that, but you're also into pop culture, and we can have discussions about, I'm much deeper into pop culture, but you can actually speak intelligently about it. So why? Because I know rockers that I'm friends with, they're completely just out of their depth when I'm speaking to them about this stuff, and I just don't, because then we have to talk about AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, The Doors, and they're all cool about it, right? We could talk about, oh man, when Black Sabbath, or oh, who do you want from the big four, who do you like? Oh, Metallica all the way. No, Anthrax. I can talk with them about, but if I try to ask them about, oh, what about Drake's new album on Billboard? They're just, what? That's trash, or we don't. So why? Why are you able to be able to speak to me about this stuff? I don't know, like quite easily.
So I think you're right.
But am I right? Because you're a rocker. So is that correct?
Okay, you're right. You're right on two levels, right? Level number one, yeah, I think rockers, like, we pride ourselves on being outside of pop culture, right? So if you think about people that are into rock, then we're probably into like vampires and goblins, wizards, carpentry, fishing. Stuff like stuff that, stuff, but not stuff that's so influenced by like the media and just being really immediate. And I think I get that from my dad. My dad being that white Scottish gentleman, and he, I got his record collection: Hendrix, The Beatles, Rolling Stones, Bukka White, Albert King, all that kind of stuff.
Aerosmith. I like Aerosmith.
He's a bit old for Aerosmith.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I discovered
got it.
He had me when Aerosmith came on the scene, right? So, but it's my mum that I would say I get pop culture from, because being like Caribbean from St. Kitts, into Elvis and Diana Ross, and kind of like having these two-tone dresses in the 60s, and just like like loving to dance and stuff like that. I think that she was plugged into pop culture. And so I guess it's just kind of two sides to my personality, but I like.
So you're saying it actually because of your white and your black background that has you able to navigate both waters.
Yeah, but that's also not to say that.
But you're definitely more, to make it convenient, white leaning.
I think it depends what mood I'm in, and it's not to say that black people are into pop culture and white people aren't into pop culture. It's just to say that those.
It's just for your experience.
It just happened to be that my parents kind of that their upbringing, their backgrounds came from two different places, right? But I'd like to unpick some of that in more detail. I think, not even I think, I know. My mom came from the Caribbean, and she came over here when she was like 15, like on her own. She stayed with an elder sibling, and like worked and became a nurse. And I think that if you were to link ethnicity with popular culture, it would be social currency. Yeah. So the fact that you are in with the in crowd, you're up with the latest trends, you've got the latest fashion, and you're spending your money on those things, signifies that you have a certain sort of social currency and status, and it's quick to demonstrate, right? And I think that's maybe why, like, when you look at hip hop and how it kind of developed from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s, to being this thing where people are name dropping brands and are wearing all of these things on their shirts and stuff like that. I think it is to do with social currency and wanting to demonstrate to society that you have value and you want to be accepted. Whereas from my dad's side, coming from a background where they were farmers and medics, you're from kilt wearing Wilsons, right, for generations. So So kind of
Was your dad? Was he a doctor or?
he was a pathologist.
Okay.
But his parents were like my grandfather's a chief physician and grandmother was a doctor.
Your brother's a doctor.
He's
right?
a plastic surgeon, but he ain't done nothing to us. Yeah. So I guess in those fields like medicine and farming and agriculture, pop culture's not of any importance.
Let me cut in. How about your brother? If you were to classify him, just for convenience sake, where would he be more pop culture? Would he be? No, he doesn't even care about any of this stuff. He's more of
He's actually
sports
got into
fanatic.
rock a bit later on, and I have to say, like, I'm still waiting for it, but I'm looking forward to it. He's a surgeon, and now he's like spending his time. He's building me a bass guitar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So he's like really into the kind of the wiring and everything, and he's building a bass guitar.
But what would you say his foundational music is? He anti pop culture? Is he indifferent, or is he pop culture?
I
if you
think
were to say.
Like a lot of people, like a lot of professionals, he's in a time warp, and by that what I mean is like kind of your pop culture clock stops.
Yeah,
round about
happens.
the time.
That happens to a lot of people.
University. So like I would say that a lot of the music and even the modern stuff that he's listening to are these bands that are coming back in. So it's like if you think like the 90s bands like King's X and Alice in Chains or The Cult or bands like that, he'll go and see them live, or Helmet that I think are touring this year.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. But it's not like the latest band.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
like
yeah.
for me, that pop culture side was like when Royal Blood came out, I was like, this is a 2-piece band and it's rocking. Then I was like, you should listen to Royal Blood. And he's like, okay, cool, thanks, bro. So I think that his cultural clock has kind of stopped. And then you just...
That's for a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
That's for a lot of people. That's why...
He grew up, basically.
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying.
for a lot of people, and that's what makes you unique in that sense, because you are stuck, and you do have time work because you are stuck in certain places, but you can speak, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because thinking about your background is just that's why I wanted to ask
Yeah,
you.
90s hip hop and grunge is kind of where most of my heart lives. And it is that... There was that kind of paradox, that conflict, because grunge is like, long johns, plaid shirts, and going to secondhand thrift shops. Like, I used to wear this pair of German Army para boots that cost like £5. I cut off army pants that were secondhand and tie-dyed them, and that's how I lived my life, like in university as an undergrad. But then being in Scotland, actually no, this is quite deep. Being in Scotland and being this grunge kid actually kind of made me more militant, because I was like one of the only black kids in the city, and then I discovered like hip hop, like in a real way, not just kind of the kind of the alt hip hop like Cypress Hill or like New Kingdom or stuff like that, but like hip hop. And
Cypress Hill is hip hop. What do
yeah,
you mean by that?
but if you look at their shows, but they've done crossover stuff like when they were with Prophets of Rage and stuff like that.
Yeah, because they have that, they appeal to that crowd. But it was with a lot of them, like Wu-Tang Clan, a lot of these boom bap era rappers. Cypress Hill wouldn't be considered boom bap, but they're from that time era.
Yeah.
It's just that certain segment has gravitated towards their music in later years.
I guess the militancy with asserting black consciousness.
Got it. Okay.
Now you might say, okay, but Public Enemy and Rakim and NWA kind of touched on that, but I still think there's an exotic fascination that like some of my school friends would have. It was like when I was at school, some of my white friends were more into NWA than me. To me, it was like if my mom heard me like listen to this, I'd get slapped. It's like those are poor stereotypes. She was much more happy with me like listening to Soundgarden and stuff. But for them, there was this exotic fascination with like rebelliousness and kind of like angry black man and kind of like throwing down the system. But then they go and get their degrees and get their short back and sides and then kind of fit in. But like with hip hop, for a person of color, it resonates because that zeitgeist is telling you the reality of your surroundings. Like when Mobb Deep Shook Ones came out, it's telling me like in Manchester that Queensbridge is like Manchester, it's raining and all that kind of stuff. And so I really got into hip hop in the 90s, and I think a lot of that was me discovering my ethnic side or being more conscious about the things that we'd experienced. I experienced more racism in Scotland and more discrimination, and so also I think becoming a black male as opposed to kind of, you know, like sometimes I joke, but when you've got people, like when you're a baby or a young kid, you're just a cute little kid with an afro, but when you become 6'2" and 18 stone and stuff like that, then I think that society views you in a different way. So I became really plugged into hip hop, and being plugged in also meant, I suppose, absorbing all of those labels, then starting to think about designer labels and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess, and that's continued because ultimately I just love people.
Yeah,
what I want to know is like, okay, why are you into pop culture? Because I say that, but my clock is slowing down. It hasn't stopped, but it's definitely slowing down because I'm kind of stuck in the 80s.
No, but yeah, I'm just surprised that you're able to. I can tell that you really throw down some content, because to be able to speak on the stuff that I know, I said, man, this guy can really.
I just like stupid stuff. When I say I like,
because the thing is, it's not that I'm fascinated by that. It's just that I find it intriguing that I know your focus, which is the 90s. All kinds of music, but you can still speak intelligent, and I know that your background is a rocker that I'm not native to.
Yeah.
Oh no, I take that back. I am, because I grew up with it, but it's definitely not my.
But I'm getting more into the 80s and the 70s, because then it's that timeline of when you were growing up and the nostalgia.
Yeah.
So the 80s is like, you know, going back and listening to the Smiths and David Bowie and The Cure and stuff is like really resonating with me. But I think the difference between me and you is I'm the guy that will try every drink in a supermarket, or like buy like stupid pencils with like different coloured erasers on them, or like Hello Kitty. I'm fascinated by that stuff, but you would never buy like Hello Kitty stuff or trinkets, or you know, like those
But
things.
that's why you have some Asian fascination that you do have.
But also, I think it's just stuff like I mean, this is a prime example, right? This is a Manchester United football shirt.
Yeah.
But this is not a shirt that they've played in. This is the shirt in the video game. So, so when I saw that they developed a bespoke shirt in a video game that you could then buy.
You are into that.
To me, it was like, that's cool.
He's into the quirky stuff.
It's quirky. It's loud. It's like, I've got to get that, because to me, that's a piece of culture that I'm fascinated in, because I remember like when I worked on Grand Theft Auto, video games in the late 90s didn't have that status, because the reason they hired me to write music and do voices was because like A-list artists were not interested, and the idea of
there wasn't a market for it. It just wasn't a thing.
Product placement,
it wasn't a thing.
Kind of games linked.
It was just a game.
Yeah,
it was aimed for children, aimed for teenagers,
adults. Adults, but really children. But you're right. But with video games back then, you weren't linked to culture so much. Maybe there was a like David Thompson's Decathlon. That's about as good as you could get.
There's
but
definitely been an evolution, and with esports, just how it's growing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wanted to just bring this up because as a rocker background, which, like I said, I don't know too much about in a very intimate way, but my perception of it, and you being a rocker, how you understood pop culture in so many. We talk about different things, and I go, man, this guy can hang.
Family, like, I don't think that so they didn't drive me towards that, but I think just an upbringing and being in school and
you throw down some content, dude. You must be reading a lot. You must be reading and
more than I should, right? More than I should. But I want to talk to you, because
you asked. That's right. Go ahead. What was the question again?
Okay, you don't buy all the stupid trinkets and souvenirs that I do. You don't like try like weird tasting drinks, but you listen to hip hop that's being produced now, and some of which not
even hip hop, man.
It would be research purposes for me, because I wouldn't derive the enjoyment that you do, but you actually enjoy.
Not even hip hop. I mean, that's a lot of the new stuff I talk about. And you just, man, I don't even know about what they're doing with this. And then I tell you about it, and then boom, 2-3 conversations later, it's just, man, you're caught up to speed. So your question was, why am I like this?
If I want to be provocative, why are you still into young people's stuff? Because, like, for example, there's one video, and hopefully you can like show it, but like the evolution of hip hop for me was like seeing these rappers on stage, and they had a microphone, but they had like some sort of gimbal so that their smartphone was attached to the mic stand, so that they could film the crowd, they could film themselves. So they were having real-time live streaming. They were recording videos that they were going to edit. They were content creators. They weren't MCs, and to me that was fascinating.
No, they were MCs. This is his intersectionality.
Okay, yeah. Content plus MC plus like dressing like punks.
Yeah.
Not like baggy clothes.
Not the typical.
Not acting hard because, like, you know, not like acting kind of in the way the rockers
colorful
would.
Hair.
Yeah. Not intimidating, threatening. Not like hoodie up. Yeah. Like, you know, what you're looking at, but like, you know, colourful hair,
having a good time,
dancing,
enjoying life.
You know, just
so why am I into?
Why are you into it?
Into pop culture or into the new stuff?
New stuff. Why do you keep up to date with the new stuff?
Okay, so to talk about the new stuff, we have to talk about just.
Okay.
I think that's only fair because. Yeah. So growing up as an American Filipino in Southern California, during the beginning stages of gang culture, as we know it, the Bloods and the Crips mainly what I'm talking about, but also the Sureños with the Southern Mexicans and the Norteños, the Northern Mexicans and that whole thing. So if you've seen Blood In, Blood Out, American Me, those movies, then you know what I'm talking about. But why do I incline? It's because I grew up in a Mexican neighborhood, predominantly Mexican neighborhood, and it was just, that's what we listened to. We listened to hip hop, which most of the creators are African American. Yeah. So growing up with Mexicans as an American Filipino, listening to African American music, I'm definitely in the minority, right? I'm not in the majority. I'm not listening to, at that time, Nirvana and all that. No, I was listening to all that. That's the thing. Yeah. I was listening to all that, and I was deep into it. Morrissey, The Cure, all of that stuff.
But you didn't know until I told you that the lead guitarist from the Pixies.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Is it Joey Santiago?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Is Filipino.
I didn't know that.
How did you feel when you found out? Did you feel accepted? Did you feel like...
Filipinos, they really.
But was it cool to you? Because, like, for example, if I found out, like, when I found out that Bob Marley was like half Scottish, I was like, oh, cool. Like, so that affinity, that sense of belonging.
Nah, Filipinos though, they love music. Okay. Like I said, they're.
See them line dancing in Dubai, in Singapore,
they kill it in karaoke. Look it up. You can Google it. They have fights and shootouts over karaoke because that's how serious they are. But for me, growing up in that, but so many of my friends grew up in that, but they're still not up on it like me. So that's the question really is like, okay, Muhammad, we get it. You grew up in a neighborhood and everyone listened to the same thing and dressed probably like and did all that. But okay, why are you still into it? I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. So you and I.
Are you afraid of getting old?
No, we travel all over the world.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm only saying this because it pertains to this topic. And people ask me, oh, you've been to X city? Yeah. Did you go see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? What about this? Did you visit that? Did you see? I go, I'm not really into all of that. And people go, why? Are you there for the food? I go, I'm actually there for the humans. I like to watch human beings. I like to people watch. I like to observe. To me, the beauty of a city is actually the human beings. The edifices, the old buildings, the wood, the concrete, the rocks, I like that. I'm into it. Let's go check the paintings. I want to see the museums. I want to see the sculptures. I'm into that. But what really, really fascinates me are the humans and how they act and how they interact. And I don't know why I'm into this, but how they, for example, their exhibition of hip hop. How they portray the culture that they're in. So they may be into rock music. So I'm looking at, because I know rock music, I want to see, how do people that are into rock music in Germany or in Paraguay, how do they exhibit that? Is it like an American, or is it mirroring how the creators of that music, how they look? Or are they putting their own Uruguayan twist? Are they putting their own Argentinian twist? Are they putting their own Malaysian twist to it? That's just me.
So how many pairs of trainers do you own?
I don't own many.
How many?
Trainers?
Yeah, sneakers, trainers. Under 10?
Yeah, definitely under 10.
Under 5?
Yeah, probably like 5.
5?
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to shout out Prof. Rima and Prof. Mark, the sneaker pimps. You know who you are, right? Now, they know trainers, and I'm guessing you guys own a lot of trainers, right? And you buy trainers.
No, hold on.
You know where this is going, right?
Yeah, but I'm into music. I don't have a Spotify account. I'm into music.
That's
I don't
what
have
I'm
Apple
saying.
Music. Hold on. I'm into cars. I can talk to you about cars. Do I own a car? I don't
No.
want to own a car. If you ask anyone what I like to do, what do I like to do? I like to walk. I've taken you on some walks where the next day you go, man, I'm sore, dude. I go, yeah, well, we did walk about 15 kilometers just talking.
Yeah.
Because we'll be talking and I go, let's go for a walk and talk. And we'll literally walk and talk for 6 hours. And then when we go to sit down, you go, man, I'm sore. So I'm weird in that sense that I can really be into something. I'm into now sports, or not sports. I'm into football, soccer.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up with that. But I read on it and I like it.
So you
but I
consume.
don't go out to the pitch and play like, hey, let's pick
That's
a
the
game.
point. So you consume, like, you're interested in consuming the
I've never been
experience.
to, I don't
The
go,
experience.
I've
but
never
you
been to
don't-
a concert. I've been to one concert in my life. One. Exactly. I'm really someone who likes to just observe.
music concert. One.
Yeah. I hate going
What?
to sporting games. I hate them. I've been to American football, basketball, I hate them. But I can read.
Should
I
we
know.
ask, which concert was this? Please don't tell me it's like Curtis.
It was
Stigers.
Jurassic 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it was Curtis Stigers. It
No.
was Celine Dion.
Celine Dion's nice though. I like Celine Dion. No. I went to a Jurassic 5. So you can't really put that on me. I think you're correct. People are into sneakers, own a bunch of sneakers.
Right.
People who are into sports, they go to a lot of sporting events and have sporting memorabilia. I don't have one memorabilia.
Because you know, my
I've
friends,
never,
if I put you on the
I've never
spot,
owned a pair of Jordans.
okay, but if I asked
You know what I was just reading on literally yesterday? Jordan 11s.
they're my favorites.
That's what I was reading on because I remember when they came out on the crisscross video. What was the name of that video? Anyways, it
That's the
was-
Rhymes had to be moved on. That's what was the patent leather.
Yeah, the one that goes back around.
Yeah. So
I'm blanking out on the crisscross video.
11s, 12s, and 13s were like my joint. I never owned a pair of 11s because I couldn't get a pair of my size.
You've owned Jordans.
Yeah, like
never owned a pair of
12s and 13s.
I know this stuff in and out.
Because 12s, because it was at the height of hip hop. Like if you looked at a video, because 12s with that kind of articulated centipede style.
Yeah.
But that's my point. So a lot of you out there probably, and we should show you the pictures, won't know. If someone says Jordan 11s, they'll be like, what? And actually they've recently come back because I saw
They put them all out.
like a student kept walking around the other day. I was like, you got Jordan 11s.
Yeah.
But like obviously there's a massive age gap, and they were like, yeah, like, and to them it was the most new current thing, and to me it was fascinating because I was like, now trainers have become like a cultural artifact because before trainers would just appear and then disappear, but like now when you see like shell toes or superstars, Jordan 11s, and they have the same cultural capital as a pair of bell-bottom jeans, for example. Like, oh, you're going back to like 90 something. Yeah, I'm fascinated by that aspect of popular culture and how a lot more of it now is.
So I'm like that.
And so to me, it's linked. Before, some items that would stick around, they were expensive or they were from materials that were scarce. Whereas now you've got like a lot more plastic stuff that's readily available, that's just being re-released. You might say, what about the chairs of the 60s that were made out of plastic and stuff, but still...
No, I'm into chairs. I'm really into chairs. I was looking at an ottoman chair and I was like, should I get this? And $4,500.
So what impact did...
So yeah,
your parents,
that's what I was gonna say. That's what
they
I was
have an
gonna say.
effect?
My mom, and I'm not saying this because she's my mother, but she's probably one of the most stylish mothers you probably ever come across. She's not. There's a difference between fashionable and stylish. She's stylish. It's her style.
Okay.
It's the way she is not. She can dress what's currently in, but she just puts and mix, and it's effortless. And this is something that I've always grown up with in clothing. with my mom and accessorizing. So I've always been into that. That's why I'm naturally into fashion. That's why I'm naturally into style and how that is exhibited in different parts of the world. But I'm just, I don't, okay, so you could say, okay, well, you're someone who likes to observe, but how come you're not into observing kitchens where chefs cook? Why? It's more street culture. It is more youth culture that I'm into.
Yeah.
Is it because I'm scared of getting old? No. It's just something that
Is it because you had a bad youth? Like,
No,
you didn't live, I don't mean like doing wrong things, but you didn't.
Not like I didn't own a pair of Jordans because we couldn't afford them because they were expensive. Nah, I wouldn't say
Or
that.
because like you weren't the coolest kid in the class, and so you wish that you could relive those days, or like.
I didn't have a problem with being cool.
Okay.
I became cool in high school, but in junior high, yeah, I struggled to be cool. I definitely did struggle to be cool, and in high school, I reached the pinnacle of cool. Yeah.
Do you think if you had those objects, this is kind of like, it's like old school. Do you think if you'd had those objects at that age, they would have changed the way that people treated you or your worldview? Because it's, you know, when you get older, like we sometimes forget that, you know, I remember my mum not really wanting me to have an outlandish hairstyle because she's basically saying if you have a cool hairstyle, then kids will see you as cool and then you get up to no good. So it was like, let me have like a neat hairstyle so that you're not too cool because cool kids get in trouble.
I'm a monthly donor to Wikipedia.
Okay.
I just love information. But as a bystander, like I said, sneakers, cars, I can talk to you about every AMG car, for example, by Mercedes-Benz. And you know me. Like I'm so far. You wouldn't even know this about me unless you really engaged me.
Yeah.
I'm into boxing, MMA. I'm into all these different things, but you wouldn't see it on me.
And you just never pay to watch it live. There were some fights, and I'm talking to him on WhatsApp. He's checking a Twitter feed, waiting for people to upload like video grabs from their TV
and more
screen.
so, and then I would read all of SB Nation, ESPN, and what they would actually write in terms of the analysis, because then it's getting an expert's view and going, wow, that's how they think about their sport, their domain. And for me, I find it so interesting. I don't know why, but that's how they think, or wow, that's how they make their pastries. The same cheese and bread pastry, they make it here, but across the Mediterranean Sea, that's how they make it. Wow, why would it be? All because we had more access to this kind of cheese during the early years of our country. We didn't have much land, so the reason why we had these animals is because. So okay, cool. I'm just naturally curious.
Okay, I got another question then.
So it actually could be when I said, if you're so much into pop culture, then why are you into kitchens and cuisines and chefs? I am too. I'm just curious about information and life, and before you know it, I'm reading on thermonuclear dynamics, and then go into quantum computing, and then reading about Led Zeppelin. Like that's literally, and I'm not saying that you know that about me.
Yeah.
I love pop culture, and I'm a hip hop baby, like through and through. So hip hop is very dear to me. And that's why I'm really up on it and love the evolution of it and all this mumble rap and all that people talk badly about. No, I just think it's an evolution, and just don't dig your heels in and, back in the old days when hip hop was real. I get over that.
Okay, tell me 3 MCs that you like favorite MCs, one of which has to be current here and now, and the other 2 can be like back in the days, whenever.
Okay, so what do you want to start with? Current?
Just any 3, any order. But tell us which one the current one is.
J. Cole. I really like J. Cole. Just the stuff he's producing, the way that he lives his life, and the way that he carries himself. I like it, and it's reminiscent of boom bap.
Okay.
And he got the dreads now, and I like that. He's very pop counter culture. If you're going to talk about MCs, that's hard to say, but I've always got to say Rakim. Okay. Because that's just, and no disrespect to those out there, but you can't say Nas without saying Rakim. And Nas is nice. I literally was listening to Adam and Eve yesterday when I was on the plane. So I like Nas. He's super nice.
Prof Kwame, I'm shouting you out too with your new book on hip hop, because we had this chat and he said Greg Nice, and I put Rakim to him, and he didn't cite Rakim, but he cited KRS-One.
Yeah, KRS-One.
KRS-One.
KRS-One. It's just, you know what really got me was there's the song, what is it called? The dang, I'm blanking out, but it's called the Watcher, and it had Jay-Z, Dr. Dre, and Rakim.
Okay.
It's a more fairly recent song, but it didn't get as much shine. But I'd say, I don't know, about a decade old. And Jay-Z's nice. Dre, of course, and he's open about it.
So who's your third? You got J. Cole.
Okay, hold on, let me answer this.
Okay.
About Rakim. When Rakim came on the track, it's not that I got nostalgic, but damn, he just has his voice.
I ain't no joke.
It has a presence, man. And when he came on, yeah, Jay-Z, Dr. Dre, it's just not to sound romantic, but it was, and this is why I fell in love with hip hop.
Okay.
So Rakim, and if you were to say another old one that I would, Guru. I Guru, Gangstar.
Oh, Guru is one of mine, but I'm surprised you kind of gone east. I thought you would have like pulled out Ice Cube.
No, so the thing is, like if you were to, because when you say hip hop, I think lyricism.
Okay.
But if you're, because I like Ice Cube, but if you know when people say top 5 dead or alive, I would, naturally I would put Ice Cube at a 4 or a 5. But Rakim is always because. His older video, he has the big dookie chain, and he has which is all in now.
Yeah.
But that's for me, Rakim, and then Guru, because when he said, "I was raised as a Muslim, praying to the east." Has that kind of it has that
influenced my kind of my life's thinking and stuff.
So that's why it's a little bit more. But and then when he got with West Side Connection and Mac 10, Mac 10 and Ice Cube, they should anyway. But
wild card, current outlier that maybe because J. Cole is fairly well known, right?
Yeah.
An outlier that people might not have heard of that you think is like one to watch.
One to watch. People don't. Okay, so there's two.
Your opinion.
There's two.
Okay.
Right. I really like Russ, and I know that is not a cool thing to say.
I have no idea.
I really like Russ, and even though people can't talk about his music because they say that all the time, I really like Dave East. I like the stuff that he's. I like Dave East. I like the stuff he's doing too. He has a good presence, and he's signed to Mass Appeal, which is Nas's label.
Okay.
But West Coast, but I mean not to leave, but because I said J. Cole, because I just like his. But who also is just eye to eye with him is Kendrick. I really like Kendrick a lot. And he's a West Coast, Compton cat, but I really, really like Kendrick a lot. But if you had to say, pick one from the current, I lean a little bit more J. Cole.
His last bars on DNA are some of my favorite bars of all time.
Yeah, no. This is the Kendrick, and then his video where he had Don Chidley. What was his name? The guy from the Iron Man, Black Iron Man. I think that's his name, man. I'm really bad.
Cheeto.
Yeah, Don Cheeto.
Yeah. No, you're Don Cheeto.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, those. So why I'm into it, I don't know why. I think I'm just naturally into all information, but I'm just curious. I like to observe. I like to read experts. I like to think about it on my own, and it's a calling back to my younger years. But yeah, if I talk to all of my friends that I grew up with, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know what rapper that is. I don't know anything about music. The Three Amigos? Who's that? No, the Migos. No, I don't. It's just
Three Amigos. That movie.
So,
all right. So I had another question before we got distracted onto hip hop, which is, you've met a lot of companies, agency people, and stuff. So on one level, you've spoken about how culture is important and pop culture is important as a zeitgeist to understanding just everyday lived experiences, right?
Yeah.
And these companies are producing products.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that when you meet a lot of these people, they're not into pop culture. So how do they learn about pop culture, or do you think it's important? Should companies care?
Oh, absolutely. I think they have their analysts, their assistants, their associates that are
Yeah.
really into it, and they feed them the information. But
Do you think the average analyst is up to anything?
I think so, because they're the ones that are, you know, fresh out of college. They're in that time warp,
Yeah.
right? And their time warp will get up until when they're 30, and then they'll fall like everyone else.
So,
Like, "Oh, I don't
so you
remember
think
that."
there's a trend where, like, you know, you're straight out of uni and then you get a job as an analyst, and they say,
Oh, yeah.
show me pop culture. It's like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah. I could definitely
hire an influencer on Instagram with, like, you know, 100,000 followers, and they say, okay, we're going to pay you to do this. But I guess if for those of you that wanted a career in being a trend spotter, the challenge is whether you can retire gracefully, because you might just find that you can't stick at being a trend spotter for, like, you know, across generations, right? Because in your 30s, 40s, 50s, people start to wear out because they're just not into culture, and then your predictions are just whack, basically, right? Because you're going, oh, it should be a bit like that thing that's now out of date.
Yeah.
So,
No, so let me answer this. So you have the analyst associates who feed the information, but I feel that sometimes, and you see with certain campaigns, there's a disconnect because those who are making the key decisions, who are the shot callers, are not native to the culture, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's street. And they're just being fed this information and go, okay, from all the information gathered, they're very intelligent people, we're going to do A, B, and C. But because they're not native and don't live it and breathe it, like myself, for example, or like the analyst or associate, then they can, because of, I have all this information, I can make the best decision. Yeah, they'll make that 80, 90% of the times, but it is those, you know, there are those campaigns where, ooh, why did you guys do that?
do you think there's a trust issue as well? Like, for example, because culture's moving a lot more quickly, and there are a lot more brands, and everyone is basically trying to play the same game, which is look at a YouTube video that's gone viral and try and make that into an advert that resembles that meme or that viral video. The stakes are a lot higher, right? But then, like, if I think about, say, Pepsi, the Pepsi campaign, where they tried to replicate Black Lives Matter, it was so dire that you would think, okay, an analyst, like, either it's an analyst somewhere spotted that this was a good thing to do, and they just didn't trust them to see it through creatively from start to finish in a way that would reflect their analysis.
Yeah.
Or they were just lame at analysing. They spotted a trend. And
Was that the Kylie Jenner one?
Yeah. And that's not the only one. So I'm not talking about, like, kind of the adverts that flop because they just were abusive or racist.
I'm not going to name
Yeah.
certain corporations, but it's known because it's out there in the interwebs. Companies who have been, we want to celebrate diversity, we practice inclusivity, but then when certain publications and media companies do exposés or do investigations, they find out that out of your 500 vice presidents, only 2 are African American, but all of your spokespeople are African American. All of your influencers are African American. So there is going to be a disconnect.
Okay.
And also, I think you had a very good point, and I'm actually going to bring in your point to emphasize this one point. The people who are the 45-year-olds, the 50, 55-year-old shot callers, they're in the time warp. So the problem is that they're still stuck in, let's say, the 90s hip hop, and they're not like you, where they're still up on it, reading on it, and naturally curious, and they really like it, and it still speaks to me because I come from that background. If you're a 45-year-old, a 55-year-old, that doesn't have that, and you're still stuck in your time warp of, you know, oh man, you know, I remember going to a Milli Vanilli concert, and you're stuck in that. You do have a foundation and an understanding, but because you're not up to date and you don't know how it all evolved, pop culture, whether it's the clothing, whether it's the music, because of that time warp that I would say that a majority of human beings have. I think a majority of adults, 80, 90% of adults are in that. Like I said, my friends and people I grew up with, they cannot have a conversation with me on any of this stuff. I can speak to their children, and me and their children will have a great conversation, and my friends will just be going, I don't know what you guys are talking about, because I'm really into it. So because of that, these 55-year-olds are just like my friends. They got the information fed to them. They can make the best decisions because of experience of life, how they've done their job, but they're not really immersed in the culture, and that's where those missteps occur.
And I want to shout out Prof. Brandy, for your presentation. I was at a conference in Paris, and it was about like haute couture and kind of like street culture and ghetto culture and stuff. And I learned a new phrase, ghettos, right? You know, like women would get their toenails done with these big, but they're called ghettos, right? And that, to me, that was fascinating. That was an example of just how that had been appropriated by high fashion and they were called out. But
this is already 43 minutes. Okay, we need to end this.
So I want to round up by asking you, like,
oh my God.
top tip. Like, what advice could you give to people to get a little bit sharper at keeping up to speed or noticing pop cultural trends?
Talk to the youth. Talk to your children. Talk to your nephews and nieces. But it has to be natural.
Yeah.
Because if you try to fake it, this is, like I said, when the misfires occur. If you're not into it, you're just not into it and it's not your space. But if you're in those spaces, then I think it's absolutely critical that you become acquainted and you try to live it and breathe it, because you're presenting it and selling it to people who live it and breathe it. And if there is this disconnect and this, now that in the millennial era of this authenticity and being emphasized and you're not living it and breathing it, then it's going to appear. And that's, like I said, it shows up in different adverts and different campaigns. That would be my top tip.
Cool. All right then.
Damn, I was going to interview this guy, but then it became 45 minutes. I thought it was going to end at 18. Thanks, dude. Okay, thanks for watching.
Peace.